Lord, show me right from wrong. Give me light, make me strong. I know the road is long, make me strong.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم. My brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Hafiz Khan and welcome once again to Different Perspectives, a program that deals with issues that are inherent in Islam but not necessarily theological. Or they might be in the theology, but probably not being able to differentiate or decipher by the theologian because it applies or have developed or have become aware or made aware by science investigation. This is one of the areas that we have been looking at for the last 3 weeks, one of the use of positive emotions, both in person's individual lives, everyday lives that you have, and in respect to the overcoming serious illness or disease, as the case may be, and how you deal with it. Sometimes you might not necessarily be able to cure the illness, but you could make a better life for yourself by having positive emotions attached to that whole scenario. So we have looked at that for the last 2 programs, and we will continue doing so. Last week we did indicate that we wanted to look at hypnosis and what role it plays and could play, and what is it about, and how does it relate to Islam? Is it accepted or not accepted? So I have once again my guest, Dr. Rocky Bakbilan, clinical psychologist, who is all very familiar and has been involved in this thing for over 50 years, I would say, for Claire. Or centuries, as he said. So he was well qualified to be able to give us some insight into these matters. So welcome once again, Dr. Bakbilan. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Good to be here. Good to be here, indeed.
All right, so hypnosis I want to start with. And just to bring in line before we get into the actual
program,
your proper definition of hypnosis, I want to give you what some of the opinions are of some scholars.
Okay.
So we could have that and understand.
Right.
Because we address in the main Muslims, we have a lot of non-Muslims who view the program and are very enthused by it and learn a lot, and they do inform us accordingly. So one person asked, as Muslims, are we allowed to use hypnotherapy? It claims to help people in many ways, example, eliminating people's fears, phobias, as well as instilling confidence in people about general life, which is what we're talking about, positive emotions. Now, Sheikh Muhammad Saleh Al-Munajid, he is based in Saudi Arabia, answered this question. Our contemporary scholars have ruled that the issue of hypnotherapy, has something to do with using the help of jinn. And based on that, we must note the following 2 points. 1, it is not permissible to seek the help of the jinn or any other creature in trying to find out matters of the unseen, whether that is by calling upon them, trying to please them, or any other method. Rather that is shirk, because this is a kind of worship, and Allah has taught his slaves to worship him alone, and say, You alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help. In Al-Fatiha. Interpretation meaning, and it was proven that the Prophet ﷺ said to Ibn Abbas, if you ask, then ask Allah of Allah. And if you seek help, then seek help from Allah. Secondly, hypnotism is a kind of fortune telling or magic, whereby the hypnotist uses the jinn to overpower the subject and then speak through his tongue and give him strength to do things by means of controlling his faculties. This is in the genie is sincere. This is if the genie is sincere towards the hypnotist and obeys him in return for the things by means of which the hypnotist draw close to him. So the jinn makes the subject obey the wishes of the hypnotist to do the things he tells him to do through the help of the jinn, thus using hypnotism as a means of finding out where stolen goods are hidden or where a lost item is, or as a means of treating disease or for doing anything else is not permissible. Rather, it is shirk, for the reasons stated above, and because it implies turning to someone other than Allah and goes beyond the ordinary means which Allah has created for his creatures and permitted them to use. Now, another response, this time by Mufti Ibrahim Desai of the Darul Ifta Madrasa in Amia in South Africa. He says smoking is prohibited. One should try it, and the question was asked if that, the person could access hypnotism to deal with the bad habit he has of smoking, to get rid of it. So he says smoking is prohibited. One should try his level best to quit this evil habit. It is permissible to use hypnosis to aid one to quit smoking. One may go to a non-Muslim hypnotist on the condition one is not made to do anything which is contrary to Sharia. So there we have two different views on it. And there is another one, I think, which was another view that was given by Ustad Dr. Muhammad Arifin Badri. And he says that it is important for us to know that the practice of hypnotic or hypnosis that are currently spread in our society can be divided in general into two parts. One, classic hypnotic or hypnosis. Classic hypnosis is an ability to penetrate and influence other people's or one's own mind that was acquainted through various methods that are identical to magical ceremonies, such as offering incense, certain portions, and so on. Potions. Undoubtedly, such practice is illegal in Islamic Sharia. Moreover, it can lead to shirk, since it is possible that among the rituals once performed in order to do such hypnotism exists a ritual done by sacrificing something or giving offering to Satan, and this is evident a form of shirk that could threaten the Islamic status of one who performed it. Right? So that's one. And secondly, modern hypnotism. This is the current type of hypnosis that are developed and being taught in various training institutes in our society. As far as I know, this modern hypnosis is a development and management of functions of the left and right hemisphere of human brain. They name the left hemisphere of the brain by the conscious mind, and the right hemisphere the unconscious mind, respectively. Through training and exercises, one could optimize the function of his right brain Thus, it will work in balance with the left, working under conscious realm, our conscious realm. The scientists today have succeeded to recognize the functional pattern of human brain. That is the left and right brain hemispheres. They explain that the left brain serves to think about logical matters, and it typically works in man's conscious state, while the right brain serves as the responsible part to do anything regarding feeling, arts, and also as a data bank for dozens of data events and feelings ever felt by a man. So it's like the hard drive in the computer. The right brain usually works in our unconscious or subconscious realm. For example, during your school years of elementary, junior high, or high school, you had lots of friends. But now at the time you read this article, if you are asked to recall 50 of your friends named in elementary and junior or high school, I am sure that it will be difficult to recall all. But if you meet them directly, you'll spontaneously remember not just their names, but also the experience with them. Thus, you feel like you are back in the past, and this is a fact that we all go through. Where are the data of your friends stored within you? The experts believe that the data are stored in your right brain, or use the terminology of hypnotic experts, in the unconscious brain. This pattern that human beings use by the hypnotherapists, they work by finding and exploring the functions of the human left and right brain and trying to use various bittersweet memories experienced by their patients. That is because sometimes the illness of a person is triggered by a trauma or a perception of an unpleasant thing. A hypnotherapist will try to change the mind map of this patient about a traumatic event or event that caused him or her to get the disease, or probably try to move the working pattern of their brains that previously focused on the right brain to the left brain, or vice versa. For example, if you have a dyspepsia, you will probably be scared to consume chili, since you believe that chili might trigger your dyspepsia attack. Or if you are hypertensive, you'll probably avoid a goat satay, since you believe that goat meat might raise your blood pressure and be lethal for you. What do you think and feel if you knew that the vitamin C content in chili is higher than the yellow-colored fruits? And it is believed that the vitamin C helps to boost your immunity. As if you knew that the cholesterol content of goat meats is the lowest compared to beef, camels, buffalo, and horses. Will you keep avoiding goat meat and choose beef instead? That is a brief description of an example of the mechanisms of hypnotherapy. And he gave a thing. One day I traveled with my family by an inner city bus. During the journey, my eldest daughter, age 6 years old, complained of lightheadedness and nausea. Since our destination was still quite far off, I started to panic. I tried to massage her back and neck, rub some aromatic oils on her body, and gave her a medication to drink. But her complaints continued. I got more panicked since I worried that she had motion sickness and would vomit, and that would be very messy. After several minutes, I remembered that the human brain function is divided into two, the left and the right, and it works just as he explained. Using this modern invention about the function of human brain, I try to relate between the complaint of my daughter to the pattern of human brain function. I told my daughter to pinch the left part of her nose by her fingers, and I asked her to count down from 30, 29, so on, until 1. Surely this countdown method is quite difficult for a kid. Thus, it forced her brain to move its focus from work from the right brain, responsible for a bad feeling, to the left brain that focuses on the logical works. The result was amazing. She just reached number 18 of her countdown when she said that her complaint was gone, and her face turned bright and cheerful. Probably this experience could be a simple example of how modern hypnotic works. So here, after all that analysis, so this is a scholar who had took the time to be informed before making a decision on some issue that normally others don't know about. And his conclusion was that hypnotherapy could be used and is very halal. And going back, I know you're willing to talk about the previous ones. That has nothing to do with what hypnotherapy is. The first two that we spoke about.
Okay.
So, your analysis.
Well, Assalamu alaikum to everybody. The presentations that you made there about the other people before, you're quite right there, talking about jinn and so on.
Yeah.
I must tell you that, frankly, that's way backward and behind any understanding of hypnosis. Like many other therapies, some of them have started in witchcraft and other things and so on. You get the fuzz out, you get the genuine good stuff forward, and you move with that, okay? Some things begin in a soupy kind of way and you move on. Other things can begin genuinely very good, as such. Hypnosis, I think a lot of people have a wrong idea about this, and this is because of the stage hypnotists who used to, for instance, could make a person cackle like a duck or something on the stage, and it's funny. And so, is he doing this?
The showman thing.
Yeah. Is he doing this against his will? Can he bark like a dog? Would he want to do that, or would I want to do it? If you understand hypnosis as is understood today, and I can tell you for sure, the guy barking like a dog is not being forced to do that. Many people think under hypnosis your will is taken away, and therefore Satan can come in and rule you. Not at all. In hypnosis, you're doing what you would want to do, but you're doing it with greater force. In other words, you're asked to bark like a dog because it's fun. And
That's right. That's the key thing. It's fun.
Yes.
And you came there to have fun.
Right. And you want to do it.
That's right.
You cannot. Now, this has been tried many times in the early days of hypnosis. You have the person to understand that this other person out here is a murderer, and here is a dagger. I want you to go and stab that person who's been pronounced legally as a murderer. I want you to go and take revenge, kill him. Here's a dagger. You put a rubber dagger in the guy's hand, and with his eyes closed and so on, he could believe it's a real dagger. Would he go and stab the guy? Not at all. Why wouldn't he do it? Because he doesn't want to do that. It's against his conscience.
That's right.
So you cannot make a person do anything that's contrary to his deep inner convictions. He may do something in fun, but not against, So still there are a lot of people who think that under hypnosis, you're under somebody else's control, and that's where they bring in the idea of jinn, which is a false notion.
That's right.
I could make some manufacturer could come up with a scalpel for surgery. It could do a lot of great things in surgery, in cutting through tissues and modifying and changing. That same scalpel can be used for murder.
That's right.
So are you going to take the instances of murder and say it's jinn? Not at all. It's an independent, hypnosis independent psychological tool. When I say independent, from the good, the jinn business and the good. Okay? Now, let me tell you, it took some time for hypnosis coming from one of these complementary or alternative approaches to be seen as clean-cut, examined for all that it is. And now the American, British, well, not for quite some years now, have approved hypnosis as a therapeutic measure aid. And it's a strong psychological tool today. My first master's degree at a very reputable university, University of Saskatchewan, was on relieving pain, severe pain, by hypnosis. And every one of the patients, every one of the clients I had got their pain cleared away by hypnosis. Nothing to do with jinn and so on. So when you talk about this being of the jinn, it's because people do not know.
Right.
And they like to think of this because they see a person doing something ridiculous, not knowing the person may want to do that. Let me tell you, Pope Pius XII gave his blessings on hypnosis in the 1950s. You want to tell me he will do this if he thought it had anything to do with the devil? Not at all. His people learned, explored all this very carefully, and so he come along and blessed this and said, it's a beautiful tool, right? So,
and on that, I just want to make a point. I mean, and I've outlined this in this program on a number of occasions already. You know, when the printing press was developed in the West, it was deemed haram.
Okay.
When the loudspeaker was developed, it was deemed haram by the same scholars, right? When television was invented, that was deemed haram also. When the camera was developed, all of those things were deemed haram without any investigation into it.
That's right.
So we have a situation where the scholars, at least a lot of them, jump and say things are haram.
They're very brilliant scholars who do not know what hypnosis really is and will jump in there and make pronouncements.
And that's why I gave the three guys. One was one extreme, the other one was moderate, and this guy actually described, went in, you know, and analyzed and know what he was talking about before he gave a judgment.
So, on the other hand, it's good that some people in good educated positions, good brain, come in and try to protect the public when, unfortunately, they do not know enough about the subject, but in what their limited knowledge, they want to protect people. Like we have boards of control in the government and so on, controlling, which has a function that is useful. But we've moved far enough with hypnosis today to realize it's nothing to do with the devil. It is a very important medical psychological tool, so much so that today, not anybody can do hypnosis as a stage magician used to do. Even though the stage magician drew attention to it, it's now taken away from them. They cannot do it because you need to have grounding in clinical psychology, and it's against the law now for these people to do hypnosis. They have to have a background either in medicine or in clinical psychology to do it. So
there are license factors, there are oversight by different agencies.
So while we thank some people for trying to help by being cautious and careful, but what is lacking there is the keeping up with the educational process that shows it's very genuine and a very good, important tool, okay? Now, I think perhaps to pave the way a little bit, I could present some one or two little minor things to think about to see how it can lead into things that really not of the devil, you know? Take, for instance, in the early, you see, hypnosis really involves a matter of suggestion. That's the main ingredient. Suggestion is in a way that it's going to, what you want to be done, you come to the doctor for something to be done, you want it, and the suggestion that the hypnotist is going to give you is to help you accomplish what you want, that you both want. So nothing to do with that, but you both want this, okay? Now, just to give you an idea, the preliminary and an elementary form about the suggestion working. Suppose you have about 10 people there together in a group. One of them yawns, and he's observed by 2 other people. Do you know they get a feeling they want to yawn too? No bug has jumped from one person surreptitiously to the other person.
Yawns.
Yes, it's a suggestion, okay? Now, one cigarette, what do you call it, heavy smoker. He watched somebody light a cigarette, so he stepped to light one up too, okay? A little boy gets his hand bruised. He rushes up to his mother to kiss the pain away. And the mother kisses the thing.
And it's gone away.
It's gone, not the boy is gone, the pain is gone. Now why is the pain gone? Why is the pain gone? There's some little subconscious thing operating. You could even see there. And here, take it a little more dramatically. Here's a true story. When I was a Consul General for Pakistan, I remember this case here. There was another Consul General whose daughter was to be given a dose of a laxative, which she hated to have to take. So just to put an understanding chronologically, let's suppose she had to take it on a Wednesday. This is a true story, by the way, on a Wednesday morning. And because she dreaded having to take some medicine, on the Tuesday night she dreamt that she had taken the medicine. And would you believe, Wednesday morning, she was pushed out of bed with her belly dashing her to, she hadn't taken the medication,
Yeah.
you know, dashed to the bathroom, diarrhea like crazy, you know? Why? You know, how? It, her body unconsciously underneath there, working with the suggestion, which she digested very powerfully, and this is where people differ as to the extent they will take the suggestion and then use it, you know? But she so dreaded this thing, she didn't want to take it, so she had this kind of thing. So you'll get this kind of thing, suggestion coming in. And then over the years, this is now built up, and as I say, you can take a scalpel and use it for good surgery, and so that's how it goes. So those people that you mentioned before, they're talking about jinn, they don't know what they're talking about. I could say this firmly. It's not just me. This is the standard understanding, you know.
The unfortunate thing about that is these guys have a following. These are scholars.
That's right.
And people listen to
So,
them.
right.
And therefore they give the people the wrong information.
That's right. The core.
Now, that might have been a good thing 100
some
years
time ago. Right, right. You see,
But not what
Right.
where it has developed at
right.
this stage.
Take for instance, before it was known as hypnosis as such. The time of, it was called mesmerism before, when this famous, important man, Mesmer, with a big stepping stone in developing hypnosis, believed that he had a certain kind of medium thing that used to come down from the stars into him, which he would then pour out on the sick people and they would get healed. And that went on for some time until a very important, reputable English physician named James Braid decided to look into this. And he found that it made good sense, nothing to do with devil or anything like that. And he gave it the name hypnosis, which means sleep, because it looked like a sleep. And what you're doing here is what the person wants to accomplish, but you're doing it a little more forcefully because you're bringing, you ask about the definition of hypnosis at the beginning, and you'll find it's where the conscious mind goes down somewhat, and the unconscious, you're not losing control, by the way.
Right.
The unconscious comes up, but it's using more force. It has more powerful energy to help you accomplish what you want to accomplish. The unconscious, as this fellow Arnold Schwarzenegger said, that the mind is like a dynamo of energy. You can use it for good, and you can use it for what you want to accomplish and give yourself a body that's beyond your dreams, you know? So it's what you want to do, but you can do it more forcefully with the energies coming in, but you harness the energies from the unconscious mind. So it's really a very solid, good therapeutic. So for those people and other people who still look at it in a funny way, the big central core answer there will be education. Education. If you understand what hypnosis is. Now, the University of Saskatchewan will never give me a graduate degree where I use hypnosis to relieve pain if it wasn't something independent of any kind of particular religious thing, you know, right? It's a secular university and a secular degree, and that thing that was used was a blessing, you know. So religious people who know anything about it would welcome this.
That's right.
You know, to relieve pain and so on. So we have that now. And I mentioned another thing about the suggestion element, you know. You know, sometimes the same thing here. You just think about running, and immediately some of your muscles gear up, ready to run. You know you have about 50 to 70 billion cells in your body just waiting for information to come from the brain to you to get ready to act, you know? So these are healthy things that we're now discovering. For instance, hypnosis now we now have solid scientific validation of hypnosis as a therapeutic measure to look at how the psyche, the mind, modulates the body in terms of health and in terms of illness. That the spirit, the mind, the body, they're all pervasively integrated. We now come to see how closely bound they are, and some very good research going on in this area. Now finding that some of the ancient things that some of these medical people used to do in their practice and so on, which, well, a lot of it might be, 99% of it might be sort of nothing at all, but 1% might carry some value. And some of the researchers and some of the missionaries who've gone in, medical people, have pulled this out and look at it and see, hey, there's some little merit here. And they take this, develop this suggestion thing, and so on, and become very, very important. And now you find that so-called miracle cures, spontaneous remission of illnesses, placebo effect, that were inexplicable just a few decades ago.
Yeah.
Today, I explained by a better understanding of hypnosis, which goes beyond the limitation that used to be put on the nervous system. And now we find that what people are now doing, researchers, with very good research methods, they are looking at how the mind up there with the suggestion coming in can move down into the body. What is the psychobiological pathway? This is what taking up a lot of research time now in hypnosis, to modify the biochemistry within the body. For instance, some of the things that are being looked at right now. The language of the mind, this is what they're looking at, how it communicates with the language of the body. The language of the mind, thinking, ideas, thoughts, emotions, sensations, and how those things can come down and affect what we call hormones. This is the biochemistry. Hormones, messenger molecules, information molecules. And that's how these things are going. Now, to the point where we find hypnosis can now be very, very effective for people, let's say, who want to eliminate certain habits, who want to, and you get hypnosis to come in and say, okay, I will cut down on the amount of food that I overeat. I want to cut down that. I want to cut my cigarette habit out. I want to cut out my nail biting habit out. I want to cut out drugs and so on. And you find that again, through the coming back to the issue is about the definition of hypnosis, where the conscious mind goes down, the unconscious with a bigger energy force comes into the picture. And would you believe today hypnosis is used to regulate menstrual functioning and breast development? I have reports where, for instance, it make you laugh at times when a girl says to the hypnotherapist, I think my breasts now have grown large enough. You could stop them from growing now. It sounds kind of funny, but it's real. Yeah. And they're doing this through the intervention of the hormones. The hypnotherapist gets into the endocrine system with the youngster and develop this. This is what the person wants. And as we're talking about getting an uplift, bringing the positive emotions from within yourself forward and using that energy to achieve what you want to achieve. So that you'll find that, as I said, because these things are now coming through and are being seen, like it's the best thing, one of the best things, hypnosis for panic disorders, for psychosomatic disorders, and so on. So that the, as I say, many medical associations now have asked for legalization on this so that only people qualified in clinical psychology can use it. Mm-hmm. And long before hypnosis was known as hypnosis as such, there was a fellow named Dr. James Asdale, 2 centuries back, in India, who was doing surgery, including amputation of limbs, major surgery, with suggestion as the anesthetic. James Asdale, one of the pioneers in bringing hypnosis to attention. Okay, and today, as I said, you have to be, I'm repeating, very well qualified in clinical psychology to do some of these things. And then you can go back to some of the people who do what is called self-hypnosis. People who meditate, who can meditate a great deal and be very intense in their meditation, can get into that unconscious. You can call it, they call it self-hypnosis.
Before you go on to self-hypnosis, let's just take a little break.
Sure.
And we'll come back and continue with that.
For the everyday lowest prices on all grocery items, trust Low Cost Supermarket for the widest variety of quality products at low prices. Freshly picked fruits and vegetables, healthy products for your well-being, high quality meat cuts, and a warm and friendly service. Low Cost Supermarket, Southern Main Road, Cunupia.
At times I feel that the sun is hidden by a hazy sky.
A God's gift brought straight from the farm to your plate. Jazza Rice, with its premium range of basmati rice, helping you prepare your perfect, mouth-watering dishes just as you planned. Jazza Rice, blessings in each plate.
Every now and then we need.
This is a Pakistani product, and all over the world, at least try it once. And if it's good, please let us know. We need your encouragement.
Just a little time to breathe.
Sheikh Leisha Limited, the leading manufacturers of vermicelli, split peas powder and grease-proof paper. We also manufacture a variety of paper and plastic bags. We have bags for French fries, sandwiches, popcorn, supermarkets, stores, and much more. Whatever your needs, trust Sheikh Leisha Limited for quality products. Sheikh Leisha Limited, Warrenville, Cunupia, telephone 665-3336. Oh.
I'm a cool kid, you're a cool kid, we are cool kids, are you a cool kid? Every day I want it, I need to drink lots of it, full of fruit, vitamin C, give me lots of it. My imagination is growing and so am I. I'm getting big, so give me fruit of cool kids, it's so juicy, so I could touch the sky.
Become a cool kid now by visiting www.fruiticoolkids.com.
Welcome back, brothers and sisters, and we are dealing today with a very interesting topic, hypnosis. And we took the break and we're back where Dr. Bakridhan was starting to give us an indication of self-hypnosis.
Self-hypnosis, right. You can get this in meditation, and it is found that you can even modify your tissues physically through that, we get that unconscious mind to come into play. But anyway, what I want to say is, in meditation, meditation you find in all religions because it works. It's like a self-hypnosis thing. You can remotivate yourself. You can reframe how you want to move, how you want to go. And people who can do this very well, they tend to have an enhanced immune system. They have peace of mind on the inside. They can bring this about. Some of these monks in Buddhism, for example, with their self-meditation, you can have a war going on around him, and this guy can be very peaceful on his inside, you know? And it gives you, you can get peace of mind in this way. When this guy, Thomas Edison, was asked what he thought about all the mistakes he made when he was trying to invent the bulb, electric bulb, he said, I wasn't worried about mistakes. I was getting learning experiences, which I incorporated myself, and every problem was an opportunity in disguise, you know, so that it helped me move forward. And some people will tell you, yes, bring me a problem, I'll turn it around into, give me a lemon, I'll make lemonade, and I'll move on and enjoy life because I can do this with my self-hypnosis. So another guy came one time to me saying, you know, life is so miserable, so many problems. I'm fed up. Where can I go? I can have peace. I said, well, listen, I know a place in Port of Spain. where there are over 3,000 people, and they have no problems at all. He said, take me there. Where? I said, quick. I said, it's the La Perouse Cemetery, you know. Anyway, so you see, to come back in a nutshell, there's lots we could say, but we don't have all that time. It is a very beneficial tool. It is where your conscious mind goes on. You bring the energy of the unconscious forward, and you can do almost superhuman things with that energy, as Arnold Schwarzenegger pushed forward. Okay.
But I think with the research on the brain and how it works has shown that the brain controls the body, every aspect of it. And that is why you could use the brain power to be able to do that healing within the body.
Right.
Now, that brings to the fore another thing. We are saying that people could really utilize positive emotion to improve themselves. However, there might be people who have from the very young been into situations that they have not been able to help themselves. People like with personality disorders.
Well,
how would that play into this whole?
If you as a youngster were often belittled, your mind is going to put into your brain, into your makeup there, those unhappy events and so on, so that they become, you have I mean, you don't intentionally say, I want to put this nonsense inside of me, but they're there, okay? And the mind will play them back to you at certain occasions and so on. If your parents were cold and always fighting with each other, and you were a little kid and you observe some of that, your mind is going to pick those patterns up and put them inside. If you had a bitter experience, a bad experience with arithmetic at one time, any time later you want to approach that subject, maths, immediate anxiety comes in.
Headache.
All right, and you're going to, that's right, and you pull away. You're going to, that's a good example. You bring on a physical headache, right? So, and so it's maths, you didn't want to get in there, so that because you had a bad experience. And so,
build a lot of walls.
Yeah, 10, 20, 30 years later, you're still, you know, as soon as the word maths come up, you freeze, you pull back until you can get to a good hypnotist and get those things worked through, and you can reframe those oddities that you put in and get life moving much better, you know, much more smoothly. And that's where hypnosis coming produces a relaxation. You know, as you know, relaxation and anxiety and tenseness can't coexist. So you build up into relaxation, the tension goes on, you reframe the direction you should go, you're much more healthy, and you move forward.
So persons who don't have those inherent issues, but find themselves stressed by normal everyday issues that they are now coming upon, we could address them and tell them, listen, try and utilize positive emotions,
right,
and it will change your life.
That's the idea.
Because they are still logical and be able to, they don't have those barriers that have been built up over time. But for those who might have personality disorders or psychological issues, they might require a therapist to
guide them,
either counseling or
guide them. Right.
As I say, a hypnotherapist, to be able to get to that point where they can now become positive.
Right. You can have, for example, let's say you did something bad with let's say your right hand, okay? If God's going to punish me for this, you know, God's going to punish me. Next thing you know, your hand is paralyzed. Freud will tell you it's a hysterical paralysis. And you know how you could also tell it's a psychological, psychosomatic thing? Person comes saying, you see my hand here? It's called glove anesthesia, paralyzed from here down. That can't actually physically happen.
Because it's not controlled.
Because the nerves don't come and end here.
Yeah.
Those nerves go, split the radial nerve, all the nerves. So, but in that person's mind, that's how the body works. The nerve come and end here. So when you have your glove anesthesia, you know it's something that he's bringing on himself.
Right.
And you could now go back and reverse what was happening and so on. So he sees things a little differently, you know. So you get even things like migraine headaches that are brought on by stress and so on, other kinds of headaches and so on. You'll find you can bring these things under control. Hypnosis is very, very, in psychosomatic, is very, very efficient. Even things like a lot of the dysfunctions you get in the sexual side of living have to do with psychological understanding or misunderstanding and so on, you know? Like, let's see, frigidity and impotence, okay? Most of these things are brought about
Psychological issues.
Right. And as a matter of fact, as I said, there's no such thing as a frigid woman, but there are a lot of poor technicians. Okay. So it's a matter, again, as we said before, you have to enter the mind before you enter the body, you know? So you build an atmosphere that's conducive to healing, and that's where the positive emotions come in, you know? And I wouldn't be surprised if someday we discover something powerful hidden in the human being that could be almost miraculous when it comes forward, when we develop those positive emotions, you know? And when I see some of these other avenues, what we might call alternative approaches, or as we now say, complementary, which is a better term, I can see those things coming in to help. We take the best that we can get out of there, leave out the bad side of things, bring them into the picture, and develop. In fact, I would say now, how would I put this? The time is coming, I'm sure, when the physicians, I have to watch my words here, I want to make it precise, when the physicians may have to learn to transcend their professional ethnicity to find a common language accommodating, welcoming the complementary approaches toward collaborative care. In other words, what we have today as medicine in general, and what we have as these complementary paradigms coming in, we'll have to join forces and come together. We will have to modify our language in the medical field, medical arena. And this is happening. We have a whole barrage of things that are on the fringe. And they move, you are asking, how do you access, how do you know where these things are? And some of these things on the fringe have moved to center stage. Let me just quickly mention some of these things for you to see what I'm getting at. They come in, we hear about them, we wonder, they move into center stage. Why do they move into center stage? Because we have people above, appointed by the government or authorities, who will look to see, have you been tested out? Have you been validated? Good experiments to say that that thing is worthy? I remember I was in the audience when a dean of medicine in Canada at a very reputable university was lambasting chiropractic. He said, that's nonsense. That's many years ago. Nonsense, hogwash, and so on. He was really hitting chiropractors. Do you know that same university now is teaching?
Chiropractic.
Right, okay. The same in acupuncture.
But look at it, it's not even accepted here.
Right, okay.
Chiropractic is not accepted in Trinidad.
Right, very well, because it hasn't yet...
There are some practitioners,
right.
But officially, like the insurance companies wouldn't give you.
Right.
But it's done in the States.
Okay, some massage places in the University of Eastern Ontario, I think, Medicare covers the Nursing Association giving massage. Some places wouldn't do that because they have shown the validity of the thing. So things move from the fringe to the center depending on what has been shown to be solid. Acupuncture, 3,000 years old.
That's right.
Okay, today, you know, as I said the other day, acupuncture is said, take 2 thumbtacks and come back and see me in the morning. I can tell you a true story. A girl in Toronto that I knew was thinking about going to medicine, but she liked acupuncture because she liked horses. And she was trying to convince me, in fact, I was a little bit skeptical of acupuncture at the time. She was saying, it's real. You apply it to horses. You can't talk to the horse. And the horse, you can see the pain is relieved, you know? To make a long story short, she said, I'm going to go there, but I'm going to do it this way. She went into medicine, graduated into medicine, and established one of the best acupuncturist centers in Canada, in Toronto. I don't know if I should mention her name or not. Dr. Linda Rapson. But anyway, maybe I should mention the name. But acupuncture now.
It's now
there.
accepted, it's
Right.
accepted and
And then
effective.
biofeedback is also now accepted. Biofeedback teaches you, without medication, how to control your heartbeat, your brain waves, your high blood pressure, and so on. There's visualization and imagery, another one of these. Okay. There is what they call reflexology.
Right.
There is nutritional therapy. In nutritional therapy, it tells you about getting away from the crazy food you're eating and eat good food like carrots. And oh, by the way, talking about carrots, you know, the coloring in carrots is every molecule of that color that you're taking, the carotene molecule turns into 2 molecules of vitamin A in your body. And that vitamin A is essential for your what they call night vision. You know, when you go into the theater and it's dark, it takes you a little while to be able to see through a thing called rhodopsin in your body. And if you don't have enough vitamin A, you won't see too well. So vitamin A coming from carrots, and by the way, very good for your vision. Eh? And you know how rabbits eat carrots.
Yeah.
And have you ever seen a rabbit with glasses? Never, because they eat a lot of carrots. Okay, and then you have things like tribal, well, first of all, let me say botanical medicines. Milk thistle, ginger, all these things are now coming, turmeric and so on, coming in very forcefully. They're going to be hitting center stage. In fact, they already. Right, right, before long. In fact, I have it from a sister superior that it isn't so much the apple in the tree was responsible for the fall of man as it was the pear on the ground, P-A-I-R, you know, on the ground. So you get all these things coming in, pomegranate and so on. And you have, in fact, there was a white man going by and he saw this witch doctor doing some little performance there. And he looked at this guy, wanted to make fun of the, lambast the witch doctor. And he said, the white man said something and the witch doctor didn't like that. And the witch doctor got so annoyed, he said, you pronounced a death sentence. You will die. And would you believe, sure enough, 50 years later, the guy died?
Well, obviously.
Okay. So then we have other things, many other things. We have iridology, homeopathy, naturopathy, laugh therapy, apitherapy, but faith healing. We have colonic irrigation. We have shiatsu reiki. Right. We have Ayurvedic approaches. We have ozone therapy, vibrational therapy. We have what's it called again? Silver mine?
Yes, silver mine.
Something so, right. Electromagnetic things and so on. And you have, as a matter of fact, it reminds me, if you want to go for something in dentistry and you don't want to get an injection with a needle, you might want to consult, what's the name of this guy? Maharishi Yogi. Consult him and he can tell you how you can transcend dental medication. Transcendental medication. Or one of his apostles, he probably, I don't think he's still alive. And you know, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, very nice guy. In fact, you can't consider yourself educated if you never read his book called Glimpses of World History. Brilliant man, you know. Anyway, when he used to get up in the morning, he used to stand on his head for a few minutes. And he was asked by media, why do you do that? He said, for 2 reasons. One, it's a good yoga exercise, bring a fresh supply of blood to the brain, get me ready for the day. And 2, it's a good way of seeing the world as it is today.
Upside down.
Right. So you have all those. Now, there's still a lot of these things. I know they're being categorized now, you know, some that are close to the center stage, some a little farther away, and some very far away. And even in the psychological field now, we have a whole set of these things, but they're very strong. You have things like, say, in psychoanalysis. Freud was the father of psychoanalysis. And he will tell you things like, in his theory, how you can convert stress and so on to symptoms in your body and so on. Another psychoanalysis. And then you have people like Alfred Adler, one of his disciples, talking about individual psychology. You have another one, Carl Jung, who talks about analytical psychology. You have Viktor Frankl, I mentioned him last week, who talked about logotherapy. You have another guy talking about Carl Rogers, who talks about Carl Rogers. When I first heard of him and his approach, I thought, that doesn't make much sense. What he does is, instead of telling you what to do, as Freud would be more direct, he Carl was just indirect. He asked you questions. He doesn't tell you. You're going to tell yourself.
That's right.
And because you're telling yourself, you're going to stick better. You know, like you say, well, my wife beat me up last night. Oh, so your wife beat you up last night. Prompting you to continue, and you're going to gradually find the answers and so on. So every time...
Yeah, eventually say what he did, I deserve it.
Right. But you see what he's doing? I've done this, and you'd be surprised how well it works.
Congressman,
just asking questions. One smart alecky guy said to me, but Doc, why is it every time I ask you a question, you always answer with a question? I said, do I do that? You know? So you get, what I'm saying is you get it. And you have still behavior therapy that's coming in big today.
That's right.
Competing with psychoanalysis and psychology. You have rational emotive therapy, you have constructive therapy, intellectual constructive, you have group therapy, milieu therapy, family therapy, conjoint therapy, you have biological where you have electroconvulsive therapy, you have surgery, you have crisis intervention, you have conjoint or individual. So a lot of these things, and what I'm saying is now, which is the thrust of all we're talking about really is, all these paradigms, we want to pull out the good. There are people already doing this for us.
That's right.
And we try to get them into mainstream and see what we can pull out of them. And what, as I say, when we bring them together, there's going to be a new language in the health field. And that's going to embrace...
And it's happening very quickly, yeah?
Right.
Very quickly.
The positive emotions are going to come in there and, you know, and bring this forward. And this is where, as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the human body can come up with some hidden, miraculous underpinning that we don't know about and can move things forward in a great way, you know?
All right, I think we have covered a lot, and it's time to wrap up. Believe it or not.
I just wanted to mention a couple of quickie little things.
Sure,
if I can.
no problem. Quickly.
Okay, I wanted to say something about people who come to a point where they feel that doctors and so on, they don't know what to do with their cases. Occasionally this happens. I would say instead of bluffing the patient and so on, be sure that you can refer to, be familiar to some of the things that are going on the side. And don't mind you, if you don't refer the person on to some other person who can help, you could be running into legal and moral issues, you know? So we want to know, I'm going to talk about, if we had the time, about how some...
We're out of time.
We're out of time. I'm going to talk about some of the quacks that come in when they take over in this vacuum.
We probably have an opportunity to do that another time. But we're fairly out of time now.
Okay.
So I think today has been very interesting.
Okay.
I think you have, in your analysis and your information you gave out was instructive. And I think a lot of people would have a better understanding of what hypnosis is about and understand that it has nothing to do with jinn and magic and that kind of thing. And I wish that our scholars would really do the right thing and do the proper analysis and before making judgments on this issue.
Right.
So, my brothers and sisters, we have once again come to the end of another interesting, different perspectives and another interesting topic that we have covered in 3 sessions. We would like to hear from you, so if you want, you could either call myself, Dr. Bakridan, or IBN, and let us know if you would like to hear more on this particular issue, and if you found it interesting, and learn from it. So once again, join us next week for another interesting, different perspectives. Jazakallah, Assalamu alaikum.